We are mere days away from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever making its debut and introducing a lot of new characters. The big news has been around Namor. Apparently it's now Namor, not Namor, whatever. I think a lot of people have been focused on that. Obviously, we had the death of Chadwick Boseman. That's going to play a key part in that movie. But we also get the MCU debut of Riri Williams Ironheart, one of the worst characters introduced in Marvel Comics over the past 10 years, came out during the all-new, all-different era, where despite the enormous popularity of the MCU, Marvel Comics decided we have too many straight white male heroes and replaced all of them, despite worldwide interest in those characters, namely Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, and others being at an all-time high. One of the real blunders in Marvel Comics history, Riri Williams is not the worst character to come out of All New, All Different. I would say that's America Chavez, who we've already seen in the MCU. I would also say Amadeus Cho, Gogurt Hulk, is a worse character than Ironheart, but Ironheart was pretty much screwed from the very beginning because Brian Michael Bendis created this character when his creative juices were at an all-time low. He went over to DC Comics afterwards and basically recreated the exact same character in Naomi. Nobody likes Naomi in DC Comics, and nobody likes Riri Williams in Marvel Comics. But CBR asked the big question about what's going to happen. Is the MCU's Ironheart more powerful than Iron Man? You're goddamn right. There's absolutely no way in Phase 4 of the MCU under Kevin Feige that Riri Williams Ironheart won't only be more powerful than Tony Stark Iron Man, she'll be smarter, she'll be more capable, she'll have more friends, she'll be more highly thought of, and will have none of those stupid little personal demons that drag Tony Stark down. This character will and shall be flawless in the MCU, as CBR points out. For now, it's unknown if the MCU's Ironheart will reveal a direct tie to Iron Man and his influence on Williams. However, the MCU version of Ironheart comes with several changes from the comic books, including a suit of armor that's possibly enhanced with vibranium. This enhancement definitely sets her apart from her inspiration, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. Oh, it definitely sets her apart from Tony Stark Iron Man. Remember in the first Iron Man film when he builds the first Mark I suit? It's basically just a hunk of junk that has a couple of capabilities. Obviously, he escapes from that cave, and he ends up expanding on the idea and creating better and better suits. And over time, his suits become more powerful, and they have better gadgets and capabilities as he learns what he's doing, i.e. the character is progressing. We cannot have that with Riri Williams in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She will start with the Mark 50 uniform. You know there's going to be some nanites in there. There's going to be vibranium. She will be able to defeat Thanos solo on her very first outing, almost guaranteed. It's insane just how badly the Marvel Cinematic Universe has fallen just over a few years. They used to be absolutely brilliant when it came to origin stories. Whether we're talking about Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, they used to be really inventive, and they normally tied those origin stories directly into the comic books in some way. Obviously, they would reshape them for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The one that they took a lot of liberties with, obviously, is Spider-Man. We've never seen Uncle Ben. We've only had the character mentioned like here and there in passing, maybe, if you want to interpret that way. But for the most part, they've done really good origin stories for the characters. They are stuffing so much into this Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. I don't think that we're going to be able to get that with Riri Williams or Namor in this story. Not only do we have to have the actual funeral of Chadwick Boseman, we need to see everyone grieve. We need to see Shuri take over the Black Panther mantle. We need to see Namor enter the picture and start a war with the Wakanda. And somehow, on the periphery, we're going to see Riri Williams emerge as Ironheart, building her own Iron Man suit in Wakanda. Obviously, that's where she's going to get the vibranium from. I don't know how they're going to stuff all this stuff in there, but I can almost guarantee you when they get to the final act, and it looks like the heroes might lose, Riri Williams will come in and save the day, and likely kick so much ass and take so many names, it's not even funny, in her very first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because Kevin Feige, Victoria Alonso, Marvel Studios, they don't have the guts to allow a minority character to fail in Phase 4 of the MCU. And they're not really improving on anything. In a lot of cases, I think they're making a lot of things worse, especially with Namor. CBR does go on to expand the relationship between Tony Stark and Riri Williams, at least in the comic books, and they get this thing all kinds of wrong. The lives of Ironheart and Iron Man are intertwined, although their beginnings could not be more different. Both are geniuses fueled by tragedies that happened in their lives. But what sets Williams apart from Stark is that she did not have access to the same billion-dollar technology that Stark inherited from his father. That is an absolute lie. When Riri Williams is like 15 years old in the comic books, she's going to MIT like on a full ride scholarship as a teenager because she's a super genius. One of the really terrible tropes modern Marvel comics do, anytime they introduce a character under the age of 20 years old, they are the smartest fucking character in the world, and they are fully realized as a character. There's no progression. They are automatically perfect in every single way, fully capable of destroying anyone, including Thanos. See also Squirrel Girl. So that character absolutely has access to billion-dollar technology right off the bat. In fact, if you go into those comic books, she doesn't just like find the Iron Man suit. Tony Stark doesn't realize how smart she is and say, hey, listen, I got this extra Iron Man suit. It might fit you. Would you like to try it on? She steals the technology from MIT directly. That is the origin story of this character. Along the way, yes, we do see that her father died, but unlike Uncle Ben to Spider-Man, Riri Williams' father's death literally has nothing to do with the character's progression to being a hero. She's not even really motivated by it. It just puts her in a situation where she lives with her mother and I guess her aunt or whatever. And that's basically where the character comes from. Not to mention, because Brian Michael Bendis is an absolute hack of a writer these days, the motivation that he does give Riri Williams as a child, she's in school and the teacher tells her, you can be anything you want to be. You could be Tony Stark if you'd like. And she says, you need to admit, because I'm a minority, that can never happen. And I want you to oppress me in front of all my friends. And the teacher's like, what? I don't think I want to do that. And she forces her to tell her she can't do it because she's black. I am not lying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Go read the comic book. Not nearly as compelling as the origin story of Tony Stark. I think we could all agree on that. They continued in the article. She may not have started out with the same resources that Stark had during his formative years as Iron Man, but along the way, her intelligence and strong will earned her the respect from those who held a very close connection to Stark. His own mother, Amanda Armstrong, offered Williams access to Stark's former lab at the Stark Industrial Complex in MIT, offered her the usage of their robotics laboratories. Williams was initially hesitant to accept both offers, but realized these were avenues to help her continue in Iron Man's legacy while forging her own path. And what's crazy about that is there are some similarities between Riri Williams' origin and Scott Lang's origin as Ant-Man. Scott Lang was a thief. He had to prove himself once he got the Ant-Man uniform costume and started being able to use the powers, and he kind of transitioned to being a good guy, but he fully acknowledged that he was a criminal and that he needed to make up for the wrongs that he had done in life, and he's always trying to be a better person. The Marvel Comics universe never actually acknowledged that Riri Williams is a thief and a criminal. They do try to apprehend her. She gets away, and then once they find out who she is and the fact that she stole all this technology, they're like, oh my God, you're like the second coming of Tony Stark. You need to come aboard the team, not being like, we're going to press charges. You can't come in here and steal our stuff. You could kill somebody with that. You're only 15. She never has to prove herself because once she's entered the Marvel universe, she has proven herself, at least according to Bendis and Marvel Comics. And that's why the character never got over. And the worst part about it, based on what we've seen in Phase 4 of the MCU and Kevin Feige's predilections to storytelling these days, she will have to work even less to become a focal point and a recognized hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Phase 4. And that's a big issue. Yes, Ironheart is absolutely going to dwarf Tony Stark Iron Man when it comes to like power levels, intelligence, and every other quality that was associated with Tony Stark, but she won't have any of his faults. She won't have the hubris. Obviously, she won't have the drinking problem. She won't be going around sleeping with everybody. You know, some of the things that made Tony Stark not a perfect character, we will remove all that. We will up the power levels, and the character will be absolutely unbearable. See also Rey Skywalker, which came out of Disney recently. This is the final thing that they had to say about the characters before I wrap this up. Iron Man has become one of the most recognizable heroes of all time by joining the champions, fighting Hydra and taking on supervillains like Armadillo, Rhino, and even Thanos. Riri Williams has already shown her skills and expertise aren't necessarily measured by years of experience. Incorporating the power of vibranium gives her a sure advantage over her mentor. Tony Stark is not Riri Williams' mentor, certainly not in the MCU, and not really even in comic books. She stole the technology from Stark Industries, she built her own suit, became more powerful than Tony Stark, Once they realized they made a mistake, they tried to do this Marvel Legacies where they would allow the original heroes to come back and validate the new heroes and tell them how great they are. But that's about all the mentorship Riri Williams received from Tony Stark. Basically, he's been an AI the entire time. He was dead. He was just a hologram giving her advice here and there. But she never needed advice because the character was perfect from day one, and the character will be perfect from day number one in the MCU as well. This character will be absolutely unbearable in the MCU, just like in Marvel Comics, because they can't help themselves. This is Phase 4 of the MCU. If you're a longtime MCU fan like myself, you probably noticed that Phase 4 of the MCU pretty much has broken everything. Recently, a Marvel insider came out and started explaining some of the reasons the MCU is broke in totality, the flawed thinking of Kevin Feige and the other executives there. If you haven't seen this, you definitely need to check it out. If it's not here, there's also a link in the video description.